Welcome back, everyone, to the Echoes of Ihsan podcast. We're doing a deep dive today,
Mhm.
and we are going to be looking at a concept. It's from Imam al-Ghazali
Mhm.
and his work, The Precious Pearl.
Okay.
Have you heard of The Precious
I
Pearl?
have. Yeah, it's a pretty dense
Yeah,
text.
it's a little bit of it's a hard read sometimes. It's a very philosophical text,
Mhm.
but we're focusing on a really interesting concept. So for our deep dive today, we're going to be looking at this idea of three deaths.
Okay, three deaths.
Three deaths,
Yeah.
but not in the way we normally think about death. We're
Right.
talking about like a metaphorical death.
Yeah, more of a transformation, a spiritual transformation. Yeah.
Okay. So Al-Ghazali talks about this. Where does he even begin with this idea? Because I know you've read through The Precious Pearl. Where does he even start with this?
Well, he starts by Hassan. He grounds this concept in the Quran.
Hmm.
Specifically, there's a verse that states that every soul, nafs in Arabic, will taste death. So every soul will taste death. And he takes that a step further, and he says there's actually three realms of existence, and they each have their own form of death.
Okay, so there are three realms.
Three realms.
Like like Lord of the Rings kind of realms.
Yeah, yeah. We can think about it like that.
Okay, well, tell me more about this because I'm very interested.
Well,
What are these three realms, and what does dying in them actually mean?
okay, so the first realm is the one we're most familiar with, and that's the earthly world.
No.
The physical world, material world, we experience it through our senses. And death here is basically what we understand death to be, the cessation of bodily function.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
There's normal death.
Yeah, just normal death.
Okay.
But then it gets interesting. So the second realm, the Malakuti world.
Yes.
This is the realm of angels and jinn.
Okay.
So these are beings of light and spirit, and they exist beyond our normal perception, but they're not bound by the same physical limitations that we are.
Okay. So if death in the earthly world is like an end, like a complete end, right?
Right.
What does death mean in like this angelic realm?
So this is where al-Ghazali gets really deep. He says that death in the Malakuti world is about transcending limitations, shedding certain qualities or attributes to move closer to God.
Okay.
So it's a spiritual metamorphosis.
Okay.
Think about the way a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly.
Right.
Kind of that image that he's invoking there.
So angels are constantly dying
Yeah.
and being reborn.
Not literally, but
Yeah.
metaphorically, yes.
Okay.
So remember, they're beings of pure intellect and spirit, so their death isn't about physical decay, but it's about a refinement of their being, a stripping away of any kind of imperfections or limitations that may separate them from the divine.
What limitations? I'm trying to wrap my head around this. What limitations do angels have?
It's a good question. He doesn't lay out anything specifically, but we can draw inferences from Islamic tradition. For example, even angels have specific duties or functions. So the angel of death has a different role than the angels that are recording our deeds.
Right.
So maybe death in the Malakuti world involves shedding these specific roles or identities to move towards a more unified state of being.
So it's like their job.
Yeah.
Their job is kind of like a limitation in a way
Yep.
because it separates them from that pure essence of
Right. Exactly.
a oneness with God.
It kind of differentiates them.
Yeah.
So they have to shed that differentiation.
Okay. So if that's the death that angels experience, what about the third realm? What happens there?
Okay, so the third realm, the Jabaruti world.
Okay.
This is the most exalted realm. It's the closest to the divine presence. And here, death takes an even more profound meaning.
Huh.
So al-Ghazali describes it as a complete annihilation of the self,
Okay.
a total merging with the divine essence.
Annihilation sounds scary.
It's definitely a mind-bending concept,
Yep.
but it's important to understand this within the context of Islamic mysticism.
Okay.
Specifically Sufism. So, Sufi masters, they often describe the spiritual journey as a process of fana,
Fauna.
which literally means annihilation.
Okay.
So it's about dissolving the ego,
Okay.
shedding all sense of separateness from God.
So it's not even death of the soul, it's death of the ego
Exactly.
that separates us.
It's like that illusion of separation,
Yeah.
that we are somehow separate from God. So
Yeah.
this annihilation, it's not an end, but a beginning.
Okay.
And it's followed by bakwa, which means subsistence.
Okay.
And this is a state of pure union with the divine,
Okay.
where the individual self dissolves into the ocean of God's being.
So we have physical death in the earthly world.
Okay.
We have the shedding of limitations.
Then the angelic realm.
Right, and then we have this,
Elation.
yeah, this merging.
Purification, yeah.
It's like each death is a step closer
Closer to God.
to that pure connection.
Yeah, to that unfiltered connection with the divine.
That's really interesting. So he's talking about angels going through this. Is this something that he thinks we also go through
Precisely.
as like people?
And it hints at the idea that this journey of 3 deaths is something that we all experience.
Okay.
Maybe not on the same scale.
Right, but the same.
But the same concept.
Yeah. So if angels, these perfect beings, experience a kind of death in their journey toward God, then what does that mean for us?
So it suggests that our spiritual growth is also marked by these metaphorical deaths.
Okay.
These moments where we have to let go of something to move forward.
Right.
Think about it. Have you ever experienced a loss or a setback or a challenge that really forced you to reevaluate your priorities, your beliefs, even your sense of self?
All the time.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
So that's what he's getting at. These deaths, while they are painful,
Yeah.
they are necessary for our spiritual evolution.
They're necessary.
They're necessary.
Yeah, it's like a refining.
Like a refinement, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're shedding.
Yeah, you're shedding
You're shedding those things.
the things that don't serve you.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a really beautiful way to think about it. It's
Yeah.
a little bit of a morbid way to think about it.
Yeah. But it's a powerful concept.
But I like it. Yeah.
And it's a powerful way to look at our own spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And our evolution as people.
It kind of reframes those things as positive in a way,
Exactly.
even though they're difficult.
Yeah, and that's the key takeaway here. Al-Ghazali is encouraging us to embrace these deaths.
To embrace them.
To embrace them, yeah. Don't see them as endings, but see them as opportunities for transformation and growth.
Okay.
If we can learn to let go of our attachments to the material world, our limited perceptions, even our sense of ego, we can open ourselves up to that deeper, more fulfilling connection with the divine.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive. So I
Yeah.
think I need to sit with this for a second.
Yeah.
But before we go, can you leave our listeners with one final thought?
Sure. So Al-Ghazali's concept of these 3 deaths, it's a profound invitation to reflect on our own spiritual journeys. Ask yourself, what death might you be experiencing right now? And what lies beyond it? What are you clinging to that's preventing you from moving forward? Perhaps embracing that death, that letting go, is the key to unlocking the next stage of your spiritual evolution.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Food for thought.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I know I learned a lot. I hope our listeners did too.
Great. Glad to be here.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Sounds good.